Good morning and welcome to your Sunday morning Sunday school devotions right here at St. John United Church of Christ. I'm Pastor Jana Myers and I am so grateful that you are carving out this bit of time, that you are setting aside some moments to catch your breath, but also to catch the breath of your soul. Spend some time reflecting on who you are and where God has planted you. You may remember that for the last few weeks and for a few weeks more, we are doing our What If series. The Still Speaking Writers Group at the UCC has sent us a really interesting collection of what if questions, our post-pandemic ponderments. And yes, well, it may be high-minded to think that we are actually post-pandemic. Nonetheless, the ponderments are good. They are intriguing. They come as one what if question, without any scripture, devotional material, or discussion wrapped around them. And it's our job to puzzle through that one question together. So I've got a stumper for you this morning. You've handled all the big hard ones. This one is a little silly, but also maybe a little tricky. What if you stopped believing the people around you were not as smart as you? Yikes! What if you stopped believing the people around you were not as smart as you? You might be saying, oh, Jana, I don't believe I'm that smart anyway, so that wouldn't be any hard trouble at all. I know what you're thinking. You're doing that thing where you assume that you don't know that much and everybody else knows more. But let's change the question a little bit. What if we stopped believing that everyone around us was maybe meaner than we were? I don't know. What if you thought that everybody around you included all the people in the generations above you and below you? What if we were talking about the dreaded millennials? Or what if, for the millennials, we were talking about the crazy boomers? I can see all of your eyes rolling back in your heads. But what if we thought about those people around us in the same way we think about ourselves, or at least thought about ourselves in a similar fashion? If we think we can handle something, is it possible that the person across from us can too? If we think we have had an impossible day, is it possible that they have too? If we think that no one will understand, is it possible that they think the same? Is it possible if you think, yes, I can hear you, I can understand, tell me, I want to know what you're going through, that the other person thinks the same? The question is simple, if not a little snarky. What if we stop believing the people around us were not as smart as us? But I think it might even be worth changing it to what if we thought the people around us were kind of like us, even a little bit. You know, we're so good at bifurcating or dissecting or separating God's people so that we think of ourselves in different categories. That, you know, I live in one part of town and you live in another. That you go to this place and I go to that place. I look like this and you look like that. I love this person, you love that person. Therefore, we're different and we can't relate to each other. But what if all of the categories and boxes that we put ourselves in were important, but not the only thing that mattered? What if underneath all of that, you were still God's creation, and so was the person next to you? What if you believed that the person across from you, whoever they are, was also a child of God? as sensitive and scared and overwhelmed, as confident and proud as you are, as smart as you are. And that you guys have something in common. It's so tricky because you see, we spend so much time in a world that tells us we're really different and we can't get along. And we are. All of us are really different, unique individuals with stories that are all our own. But it's also the case that we are very much the same, with stories that overlap, made by the same Creator. It's hard to tell your sibling that they are nothing like you and don't know anything about you, right? They were raised often in the same house. They have some of the same genetic material. You've got a lot in common. Imagine if you extended that same sense of connection to other people. Even if you only did it for like 1 hour once a week. What if we made the connection that those around us were not as separated, as devoid of feeling, as uncaring as we are often told they are? Think about all those millennials. Are they really as ridiculous as you think they are? As a millennial, I would say no, we're not. But so often the category, the labels that we put on each other allow us to not see individual stories or people. We don't see each other as fellow travelers on a road. We see each other as wholly different creatures. And in this Easter tide, this first Sunday after Easter, where we explored the reality of God's resurrection for each of us. Remember, we asked that question, what if the resurrection was true for you today? What if the resurrection is true for me today? For the person over here, for the person that you're going to meet next? What if the bigness of God's story and the truth of God's story was true for you and them? What if? What if we lived and related to each other in a way that showed that we believed that? What if we put away the cynicism and fear and instead acknowledge that things are not perfect, neither people nor situations, that we are not all the same, given with different gifts and different skills, but of the same one God who loves each of us as wholly, as completely as can be? What if we gave up false notions and instead lived in God's light, and that light lived for all people? It's a big task. I get it. It's like a lot. But what if you did it for an hour a week, and you can't count Sunday mornings? That doesn't count, because we're already all doing that together. But what if, like on a Tuesday at 10:30, you decided for 1 hour to treat everyone else like they were as special, as loved, as fearful and sensitive as you are, for just 1 hour? What if you lived out the truth of the resurrection? It's a big challenge. But if I stop believing that you are not as smart as me, then I know you can handle it. Because you see, if I give up my false notions, I will remember that I'm not the only one who likes to go to church. That you also like to go to church, otherwise you wouldn't even be here. That you actually believe all this stuff about God and Jesus and unconditional love and redemption. and that you are going to do what you are called to do, which is love your neighbor. So what if I believed that you were going to go do this? And what if you did? Let's meet back here next week and see how we did. I'll see you in just a little bit at 10 o'clock for worship. Bye.